then in a very small percentage of the cases, maybe 2%, sometimes the state of Ohio will decide they can't prove this case. Sure. Because the case is filed when the officer makes the arrest out there on the highway at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, and that's how it first comes in.
All right, okay.
So then it comes in, it comes through the court system. There may be some evidentiary issues. Maybe I had to throw out a breath test. Sometimes the testing equipment is not properly calibrated, so the breath test isn't in. There may be some other issues. So there are things like that where the prosecutor will stand up in open court and give me a public reason, not a private thing, a public reason, why they can't prove that case. And if I'm satisfied with that reason, I'll permit them to dismiss the charge against that person.
I see.
There have been some occasions where I've said, you know, I think you just ought to try this case and see what happens.
And trial for a DUI looks a lot like our viewers see on Law and Order and whatnot, but there is a jury there.
Oh yeah, there's a jury.
The only thing, it doesn't have as many people seated on it as how many?
Misdemeanor trials have 8 jurors.
8. And
I usually seat 1 alternate, so there's usually 9 people there. Okay. Just in case somebody gets sick or something like that. 8 people, and a DUI case usually takes a day to try.
Standard is beyond reasonable doubt.
Just like any criminal case in the entire country.
Got to have unanimous. Everybody's got a
unanimous verdict.
Okay, same thing. The only thing, just a smaller number. Right. So people get their day in court, big court, little court, whatever you want to call it.
They do.
Same thing.
They do. Okay.
Well, Judge, this is what you just said begs this question. And what are the consequences of somebody who would be found guilty of DUI in your court, or probably most?
It varies, because DUI sentencings vary on how many DUIs you've had.
I see. But what about, well, let's say the guy who's your first visitor. I mean,
First time, up to 6 months in jail, up to a $1,075 fine. There's a minimum fine, $375. There's 6 points that go on your driver's license record. There's a license suspension of at least 6 months, up to 3 years. And there's a mandatory 3 days in jail.
Wow.
But the 3 days in jail can be filled in by going to what's called a driver intervention program.
It's
called a 72-hour program.
What is that?
It's a program where you have to be there for 3 days. Usually they start Thursday night and end on Sunday night.
Yeah.
They're run by agencies that are certified by the Ohio Department of Health to run the program. And it's an educational program for people about alcohol and drinking and driving.
Okay.
It's a program about the effects of alcohol, the physiological effects of alcohol on your body. They usually bring in speakers to talk about how they've had DUIs in the past and the problems in their life with alcohol and drugs. There's a minimal level of assessment of the individuals that goes on. And from each of those programs, I get a report from the agency that runs the program about the person who's just gone to that program.
All right.
And then when they come in front of me for sentencing, because I make them go to the program first before I sentence them, I know whether there's a recommendation that they need further attention, further assessment, further treatment. There's a problem in their lives with alcohol. And there's going to be some people that are come through here, and I would call them self-correcting. They made a mistake. They recognize that mistake. They've gone to this program. They understand the nature of what happened to them, and they're not going to do this again.
Okay.
All right. Those people, I don't put on probation.
All right.
I reserve probation for the people that need more attention, that need to get assessed, that may have a problem with alcohol in their lives.
So what you're saying then, Judge, our person that needs a little more attention, that's a good way of putting it, he doesn't exactly just walk away from that jail. I mean, he's going to have to comply with the terms of your probation for a period of time.
At least a year.
At least a year.
Up to 5 years.
And you have a probation department that works through your court.
I have a chief probation officer, 4 full-time probation officers, 1 part-time, and 3 part-time clerical people, all in the probation department.
I see. That's why it always looks like it's such a busy place with people coming and going to meet their probation.
We have people reporting and coming in, and in 2008, everybody, if I put someone on probation, they have to have a drug test. Okay, and then if you're on probation, you can't be using controlled substances, and we will randomly test you.
I see.
In 2008, we did 1,600 drug tests
And the person who doesn't comply and comes back positive, he will be before you again, he or she.
Yes. Okay.
Then he's probably going to go to jail.
Good likelihood.
Really likely.
Although it's interesting, for example, we do the drug test not only on DUIs, but on any case that goes on probation.
Oh.
So I get someone who's in front of me and I'm sentencing them for a theft charge. Well, on the day I sentence them, we do an oral drug swab to see if they're positive for drugs. And in a very small percentage of cases, they show up positive for any drug, marijuana, heroin, cocaine. And that's not what brought them into court.
No.
But there's something else going on in that person's life, and now we're aware of it. And we make them deal with it if we're aware of it.
I mean, now that I'm understanding the big picture, and I hope our viewers are too, I'm really beginning to understand what you said at the beginning, because this intervention, that's what it is, and people's lives come to you in big numbers, actually, in lots of different ways. We're in some really tough economic times. There's a recession, and many governmental entities are cutting back because of this. Is our court affected by that?
Boy, the answer is yes and no. Okay. Typical lawyer's answer, I think.
Right.
Okay,
I've heard that before.
Even from a judge. Okay. The answer is, in terms of court operations, the court has not been affected internally. The city of Medina is very fortunate. They're on a very sound financial footing. And it's taken years to get there. But they've gotten on a very sound financial footing. And the court is funded through the city, but also through some grant money and some court cost monies. So we're able to run our court fairly well. Okay. The impact that's come on to us is in a couple of ways. A lot more people qualify for a public defender now than used to.
There would be costs to the county.
So there's costs from that.
Sure.
A lot more people are having difficulty paying their fines and costs. So we have to work with those people more.
So the actual self-funding of the court is impacted by people who just can't pay.
Right. And the jail.
The jail.
When the sheriff has had to shut down part of the jail. So sometimes they tell me there's no space for someone I'm putting in the jail.
I guess that's a. So yeah, there is a definite impact.
Right.
I mean, you're not immune to this in any way, shape, or form. There are other ways this impact. I mean, if you have no jail to send people to, your court is not going to function as it should.
Every week now, since the jail started closing part of the jail, I get a list of who's in the jail that I've sentenced. And I have to take a look at who I have coming up during that week that I'm going to sentence into the jail. And sometimes I have to make a call as to whether I leave somebody in jail
or let them out.
Or let them out so I have space to put somebody else in the jail.
Another tough call for you, Judge. Well, Judge, our time has come to an end. I very much thank you for being our guest on Law Talk today. And of course, the invitation is always open. Please come back anytime you'd want. For our viewers who would like to see this episode on the internet, go to www.czclep.org. I am John Celebrezze, and I thank you for tuning in to Law Talk.
To keep up on Medina County and other legal issues, go to www.czcourtreporter.com, a function of the Celebrezze-Zangi Community Legal Education Project. At CZ-CLEP, we're devoted to the education of today's legal issues. Fueled by the public's keen interest in our legal system and current events, CZ-CLEP is dedicated to the educational venues aimed at enhancing the understanding by all citizens. For a complete listing of dates and times for this telecast, tune in to WCTV Channel 15 or log on to wadsworthcity.com and follow the links to WCTV.
I'm John Celebrezze. Please join me in getting a better understanding of the law.